The show first aired in 1994, and it was kind of my baby. We created a small group of gargoyles who have a spell cast on them, fall asleep for 1,000 years, and wake up in modern Manhattan. And we picked Manhattan because any city in the world, Manhattan is the one that most screams now. I kind of did hope that this would be something that would have something of an afterlife, but what wound up happening way exceeded our expectations.
Welcome to the 8th annual Gathering of the Gargoyles.
Fans come to the Gathering of the Gargoyles. We're on our 8th annual convention. We've had fans from Korea, from Australia, Israel, Germany, Belgium, from Ireland.
Brilliant. It was just brilliant.
This is a show that is going to make you think.
It was like a crash course in Shakespeare, history, mythology.
They were real individuals. They had motivations, they had goals.
Adults could watch it, get something out of it. Kids could watch something and get something completely different.
Gargoyles rule.
Gargoyles was my childhood, and so much of it, its richness, is kind of always with me.
The quest itself is the essence of myth. It's the essence of fairy tale. When you're seeking other people, you're also seeking yourself.
It's like being at a family reunion. People that would not ordinarily meet came together and continue to come together year after year.
I made a lot of friends through the show. I've started reading classic literature and Shakespeare and ancient mythologies.
It brought us together. It gave us, it brought us to start looking at our lives together based upon something that we both enjoyed.
They're interested in what happened between episodes. A lot of fan fiction's written based on, what happened between this scene and that scene.
What we're going to do tomorrow is I'm going to give you a character name and some other very minor information about him, and we're going to flesh out the character from the opposite direction.
The show has had a tremendous effect on my life. I've been a writer for many years, and I began writing fan fiction. It gave me an opportunity to get feedback from other readers, other fans of the show, and that gave me the confidence to try things in my own original writing that I might not otherwise have done.
You're awake. You're alive. We're together again.
I always liked the family aspect of it, and that's really what carried me into the fandom. You had people that were thrown out of time and place, and they were willing to create their own bonds of family and of connectedness.
It was the last scene before right after the Thaylog fight.
Right. I was really outcast in high school and made fun of all the time and went home crying after school every day. And basically the Gargoyles fandom became my family, and they were the people that I came home after school every day and chatted with, and it's because I could look forward to seeing them online every day that I made it through high school, because I had no one else.
Camaraderie.
My family.
In a way, Gargoyles is about the process of becoming human. I think a very human quest is finding your place in the world and learning how to be accepted and accepting of others.
There's an attraction for people who feel outcast. These Gargoyles characters are kind of, isolated, and they can't come out in the open because people will fear them or hurt them, but they want to do what's right. They want to protect people and help people, which there's a lot of people out there that feel outcast from society, but they really want to do the right thing for people. And that's, the show kind of hits this nerve that no other show has ever hit before.
You get to celebrate the content of someone's character as opposed to but the color of their skin or their outward appearance. I mean, that to me is the most impressive element about Gargoyles, because it forces you to deal with who they are, not what they look like or anything external. You are dealing with, internal principles about these people.
I see no walls to guard this city.
Well, our biggest worries aren't from outside. They're from inside.
That I am all too familiar with.
You have a show that teaches you something. You have a show that entertains you. You have a show that talks about social issues. What better thing do you want in programming?
You know, Goliath, You may be the best thing to happen to this city in a long time.
I have many favorite characters, and if I had to pick one, I would say Goliath, because he is such a deep and complicated character with so much tragedy and so much intensity and passion.
We will save the humans, and we will have our revenge!
We had a very clear picture of who Goliath was, a sort of tragic and yet optimistic figure. And Keith David obviously would eventually totally bring Goliath to life with his amazing voice.
They were at first going to put some sound enhancement or, put some reverb and stuff on it, but they didn't have to.
There is something you can do for me, Magus. Cast your spell one more time.
I was very moved by Goliath. I was moved by playing him. They are not displaced citizens, but they were citizens from another time, another place that were placed in this modern context and maintained that integrity.
What initially got me was the art style and the sort of dark Gothic style. It was more of a dark story.
Gargoyles are asleep all day long. So their world is the world at night, Manhattan at night, from Goliath's point of view. And Goliath is basically an optimist. And that means it's not a world of black and gray. It's a gorgeous world of deep purples and rich blues and magentas and reds and just this terrific color palette.
Stone streets, finer than those the Romans built.
I was completely blown away. I'd watched a lot of animated series, but none have ever blown me away actually, none have blown me away before. That one did. Gargoyles did.
A huge amount of artists were inspired by the show. Again, a few of them have become professional artists.
I drew a lot of Gargoyles pictures and eventually got into the animation industry. I would have to thank Gargoyles for pushing me in that direction.
It's tremendously gratifying. They've invested themselves as much in the show as we, the creators, did back when we were making it. Every year at the Gathering of the Gargoyles, they have an art show room, and it's just amazing, the art that we see going through there. Based right off of the show, they have original fan fiction characters, that is, characters they came up with, but set in the world of the show.
I always liked Elisa. She wasn't afraid to take on everything that was thrown at her.
Mr. Burnett, I heard automatic weapons firing up there. Now you can let me look the place over, or I can come back with a warrant and a lot more cops. It's your call.
We were very determined that Elisa would not be a damsel in distress, that she would not be Lois Lane to Goliath's Superman. And I'm not knocking Superman and Lois Lane, because I love those characters, but we wanted a different dynamic.
You're a private citizen, Xanatos, not a country.
She was just such a strong role model, and of course, she also had the gentleness and the kindness to win Goliath's heart.
Come on, let's get out of here before something else happens.
I particularly enjoyed the romance between Elisa and Goliath. I think it was something that was beautifully developed over the course of many, many episodes and really kept the audience hooked and watching to see what would happen next.
The more I watched, the more I loved it. There was more there to like.
I'd like to welcome you all to the 7th annual Gathering radio play.
What got me hooked to these gatherings was the radio play, which is an event where Greg Weisman brings a script to the gathering and casts fans and original voice actors in the parts, and we perform it in front of the convention. Sorry, it's the best I can do.
The injury will heal when I turn to stone. We have other worries.
Goliath cloaks his wings delicately. The copter flies overhead, shining its spotlight on the roof.
Thanks to the Gathering radio plays, I've developed an interest in voice acting for animation, and so that's something I'm pursuing.
Our show is a little bit dangerous, a little bit unpredictable. Guys who seem to be good guys. I mean, David Xanatos is this handsome, sort of Bruce Wayne-esque figure that you think might be there best buddy, and he turns out to be the bad guy. And then he turns out to be even more complicated than that. It's not as simple as saying he's evil.
Magnificent.
Make the offer now, Owen. This instant.
It may prove difficult to find the necessary manpower.
You know the answer to that, Owen.
And we got to that scene where Xanatos says, pay a man enough and he'll walk barefoot into hell. And I was like, oh, dang, you know? Can you say that in a Disney cartoon? It's like from that point, I knew this was something cool and different, and I was just hooked.
I was really young. It's like, oh my, like, did he say what I think he said?
Goliath, my love.
Demona is this tremendously complex character, full of guilt, having lived for 1,000 years. Our gargoyles, our heroes, were asleep for 1,000 years, but Demona wasn't. She was alive for 1,000 years. And Demona, in essence, becomes her own worst enemy.
The centuries have made you weak, Goliath.
She's not your typical villain. I mean, she has a legitimate gripe, a legitimate cause. I mean, don't see these villains outside of classic literature.
Demona.
Demona.
And we literally have biologists in the fandom who have tried to figure out the evolutionary origins of gargoyles based on evidence of the series and tidbits of information that I've thrown out.
When you see the bright burst of light from a gargoyle's eyes, and then the glow goes down when they actually move. So if they're blinded for that brief second, it doesn't really matter because they're hoping that whatever they're growling at is too scared to move anyway.
They're attacking the castle. That's all we need to know.
Finally, I don't think there's any question who Best in Show was this year.
These are creative people. They're artists, they're writers, actors. I mean, it runs the gamut.
This one took me about 9 months. It was one of my first ones. This is rubber, okay? A lot of it is cloth, like Lycra and whatnot. The wings are aluminum, you know, for lightness and so forth.
Like all great cartoons, great stories, it's for kids and adults. Everybody can get something out of it, and we were blown away.
It's a show for everybody. It's a clever show. It is not just throwaway cartoon entertainment.
It's full of dozens upon dozens of really amusing lines.
Every time I mention the show, people always perk up and go, oh God, I love that show.
They were like real people, and the audience responded.
It continues to stand the test of time, and it continues to be interesting and intellectually engaging.
I've been in this business for 25 years, and it was some of the best fun I've ever had in life.
I think we've created something, and the fans have sustained what we created so that it can go on indefinitely. The truth is, if it comes to an end tomorrow, I'll be grateful for what we had. And if it goes on long after I'm gone, then that's pretty cool too.